Good afternoon. My name is Peggy. Welcome into Love Yourself Spiritual Channel. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the ego and the inner child and how to work with them and balance them. And these are your yin yang energies. You can also refer to them as the mind and the heart. But I'm just going to refer to them as the ego and the inner child. And I'm going to start with the ego. The ego is not bad. The ego is actually very necessary for life here on planet Earth. And because one of the ego's primary jobs is to move you away from pain and towards pleasure, which serves very well because if you go running your car into trees at 90 miles an hour, that's going to hurt. And so your ego tells you don't do things of that nature. And so it's as big as that and as small as, because the things that you do are familiar to it and it maps your life according to the things that it understands. And it tries to project into your future things that it understands so that it knows how to navigate them based on the experiences of the past. And so even if a cycle that you have going or something that you're doing in your life repeatedly is causing you pain, but you can navigate it, the ego will keep that cycle or that pattern in place because it understands it. And so part of the reason that it is so difficult to change anything, especially in relationships in your life, is because of that, because the ego is set up to continue patterns that it understands. And any significant change that you want to make always has to start with the self, with loving the self, with beginning to understand the self, with spending some time recognizing your patterns, not beating yourself up for them, that's counterproductive, but actually starting to investigate why I keep this pattern, where did this pattern begin, and how do I change it? And a lot of the patterns that we have stem from childhood. And so now I'm going to shift a little bit and I'm going to talk about the inner child. And the inner child is what sets up our patterns. Before our cognitive thinking skills or the ego actually comes online, it is recording all that's going on around us. And we don't have cognitive thinking skills until we're 7 or 8 years old, depending on our development. So up until 7 or 8 years old, a child is continually taking in the vibrations and of everything going on. So if you grew up in a house where your father was abusive in some way and you absorbed that vibration, even if you didn't see it personally, but you absorb the energy of it, and you do. You're like a little sponge. You're like a little walking sponge. And fast forward into your life now, and you are or have been in relationships that have been abusive, emotionally, physically, in any way. That is because that is something that you absorbed in childhood, took in as part of your frequency. It's part of the resonance of what you would attract. And while that was a wound, that's a painful wound, and it will have its root there. All wounds are calling at all times for healing. And these core childhood wounds are calling for energetic healing. And so this energetic healing is actually what attracts to us equal physical manifestations in experience to what we experienced at that time, so that we can look at the core wound. And so it's continually attracting very similar experiences to you. And they will be painful, of course, because those core wounds are painful. And so even if you leave a relationship that is in some way toxic and abusive, and you don't do any inner work to rebalance and to heal those energies that are calling for, those wounds that are calling for energetic healing, you will attract again the same, if not worse, to you in terms of another relationship. And that's why you can have a woman who'll go through 5, 6, 7 men in a row, and some of them have never hit a woman in their life, but at some point in the relationship, they're all becoming physical with her. And it isn't her fault directly. Indirectly, she absorbed that somewhere in her childhood, and that wound that she has that is back from childhood is wanting to be looked at, and it's bringing experiences to it so that it can be looked at. And if she will stop long enough to heal those wounds that are behind her, then what will actually come out of that experience, that healing, is a transformation of that wound, and it will heal. And she will not attract people like that to her life anymore. In fact, she'll learn a lot of things like boundaries and self-worth, which are lost along the way during experiences where deep core wounds in children begin. And some of them are just simple misunderstandings. Some of them are quite silly, actually. And in a later video, I'll go into some of mine that are pretty funny. And I don't know that I would even call them a wound, but they were attracting situations later in life that didn't serve me that well. So a wound can be anything from some major events to some very minor ones. They're just misunderstandings, because when we don't have cognitive thinking skills, we just accept, sometimes in the silliest ways, what's happening around us. So the ego's job, while it's to move us from pain into pleasure, at some point we have to work with the ego to set it aside and dive into some of those core wounds so that we can balance within ourselves, balance our own energies, and then move forward in life in more beautiful ways. And these will always affect the relationships around us, because our core wounds will attract to us relationships that may not be that comfortable. So if you're between relationships, my strongest suggestion would be do some inner work so that the next relationship that you do attract can be all that you want it to be. And if not, if you're already in a relationship, that's okay too. You can do the work while you're in a relationship. And I strongly suggest that you do, because it will improve every aspect of your relationship. As the relationship between you and you improves, the relationship between you and others also will improve. It's law, it has to. So if you're in a toxic relationship, know that as you heal, if that person is not willing to do some healing, that relationship may end, but it will not end until you're ready. And while the experience of that, you think from this stance, might be more painful than you can handle, I promise you the pain you experience as you stay without healing will be far worse. Because there's great joy and there's a lot of peace to be had in healing. It's life-changing. So I thought we would pull some inner child cards from my favorite inner child oracle deck, and I'm going to set those up, and I'm going to move the camera so that you can see the table more clearly, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've pulled a few decks and cleaned them, and said a prayer and called in spirit, and I think we'll just get started. I have an inner child oracle deck by Amanda Aisling that I love, and I thought we would just grab a couple cards from it and then see what Spirit has for us to learn today. We have 3. Okay. We'll use these. Okay. Say yes. Now is the time to open up and receive. Be open and receive. Spend time in nature. Be true to who you are. Fear will not stop you. Fear will not stop you from shining. Oh, that's pretty. I'm going to show you these really quick. I always love the pictures that people, especially long-time tarot readers, choose for the cards. Because there's always a lot in them. Always a lot hidden. Like this yellow rose here. Yellow roses are a sign of friendship. But this person is also an individual, and she's in the foreground, so the more important part is her. Like, these are the kind of things that in these cards speak to us. And this building, of course, it's solid, right? So that, to me, that depicts foundations. And yet there's a wall here. So that's boundaries, yet the gate's open. So say yes, but know all of these things. So know your boundaries. You know you have a firm foundation. Friendship is very important to you. So really, really cool card. I'm not sure really what the red sphere or the blood moon indicates, but that's probably a thing too. And the number of that card is 30, which is 3. Spend time in nature, which the 3 for me denotes the inner child and creativity. Spend time in nature, number 34. And then be true to who you are. And this is I think it's probably denoting a Pegasus, although those look like, on this horse, unicorn, they look like butterfly wings. And anytime there's a butterfly in a card, to me, it indicates that a transformation is either coming or needs to come. So maybe you're learning to be more authentically you to make that transformation. And I don't know if you know how a butterfly turns from a caterpillar to a butterfly, but they literally liquefy their entire body in that cocoon and then rebuild it from soup. It sounds horrible. It sounds very painful, and I'm sure that it is. And that really a transformation to becoming your authentic self is painful. I can assure you, it's not always fun. If you're well into the journey, you know that. And then of course there's water in this card, and water always indicates the need or the existence of love within it, becoming yourself, loving yourself. Okay. And like I said at the beginning of this, the most difficult transformation, definitely for me, was seeing my own value and knowing that if it wasn't right for me, that there's no way it could be right for those around me, that it had to start with me, that my happiness, I had to be responsible for it. And everyone has to be responsible for their own happiness. You cannot be responsible for somebody else's happiness. That's not how it works. And for you to try to jump through enough hoops or guess how to make someone else happy is impossible. Happiness is an inside job that each person has to be responsible for. And you are not to take on the burden of someone else's happiness, and they should not take on the burden of your happiness. The best relationships are the ones where two people individually maintain their own balance within them and then come together in the relationship more balanced. And I'm not saying don't have conversations about what's going on in your life. Definitely do that. But don't rely on that person for your soul sense of balance and happiness. That's too much pressure. If that person shows up with only 20% to offer and you show up with only 20% to offer, that's going to be very difficult. So there will be times that, and you should lean on each other. Yes, I'm not saying don't support and don't lean, but I am saying don't make it that person's responsibility to keep your own emotional, spiritual balance. That's your responsibility. And likewise. Okay. Let's just say yes. And this is gold foil tarot, I think. It's just a traditional tarot deck. It's actually one of my favorites. I love the way it shines. Lovely. Lovely. Okay. We'll do 3 cards and a supporting or energy that you don't see from the bottom of the deck. Oh. Energy that you don't see is the Hermit. Oh, in the world. And the Empress. And the Chariot. Goodness sakes. That's a lot of major arcana. I'm going to show you these. I'm not going to take all of them, but I'm showing to you the Hermit. We are going to take the Hermit. The Hermit is the one who has done the entire journey and has wisdom and has some knowledge. And his star, the thing that he wishes upon, the thing that he hopes for, is what he uses in his lantern to light his path. That's what his light comes from, is the hopes and dreams that he holds within him. And they're lighting his path. And as you can see, he's an older gentleman. He has a staff, and that staff is, you know, indicates a staff of wisdom, of having walked the path. And so the Hermit behind this Say Yes card, and with all the Say Yes card has going on in it, I think is really, really beautiful. And then, you know, the World card is about the cycles that we keep. Some serve, some don't, of course. And then the Empress, she is the ultimate divine feminine, the culmination of all the female queens of the tarot deck. And the female queens, Swords rules the thoughts. That's the master of the thoughts. And the Queen of Cups rules the heart. The Queen of Wands rules the fire, the spirit energy. And the Queen of Pentacles rules the earth, the stability, and those things. So I love seeing the Empress, and this is major arcana energy, both of those are. And then we have the Chariot, which is going forward with the balance of exactly what we're talking about, of the yin-yang energies. And the chariot driver never has reins. The animals pulling the cart are those two aspects of him, the ego and the inner child. But they have to work together. If they try to go in opposite directions, the cart can't go anywhere. But it's about aligning between you and you, which is why I wanted to show these energies, because I feel like they're all supporting energies. We're going to leave them in the deck to see if they come out possibly later. Lay out this downline. They're upside down. King of Swords, Knight of Wands, Six of Pentacles. Okay, nice. Those are beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and lay out the rest. Show us Spend Time in Nature, please. I love the King of Swords in this Say Yes, because the King of Swords is the king that is the most logical. He will, in his mind, assess the situation and then come to a conclusion and give a very decisive answer. He doesn't vacillate with indecision. This is the most decisive king that the deck has. And then the Knight of Wands, Knights are about taking our passions outside of ourselves. It's about moving something that we feel strongly about forward and taking action on it. And then the Six of Pentacles is about keeping a balance between a 3D balance, because it is a pentacle card, between myself and those that are important to me. And so I think this is actually really a beautiful, beautiful downline if you're someone who struggles a little bit in relationships about, and even within yourself, maybe giving too much or being a little too much of a people pleaser. The King of Swords doesn't take action until he has all of the information. He says, give me the information, give me the truth. I need the truth, I need to know. And a lot of that truth is going to come from, with balancing the ego and the inner child. And then the Knight of Wands, he checks in with his passions and he moves in passionate ways. So it's a card of moving forward with spiritual intent, with spiritual energy. And then, of course, Six of Pentacles, as I said, is about keeping a 3D balance between yourself and other people. So say yes. Say yes when it's right for you. Say yes when it feels good to you. And you can move forward with passionate spiritual energy and being aware of the balance. But the balance has to start within you first. Okay? All right, let's look at this. Spend time in nature. I just need to split the deck. Nine of Cups on. Spend time in nature, and it's being supported by the Nine of Cups, which is wish fulfillment. And knowing your worth and loving yourself. And I think spend time in nature, because it's cool that this is a cup card that is clarifying or backing or supporting it, because this card does have a lot of water in it, and water always denotes love and the energies of love. So I think that's really beautiful. And then for a downline, I'll make sure these are upright. Knight of Swords, It's the fastest moving knight in the deck. Takes our thoughts outside of us. 8 of Swords and the High Priestess. Okay. Very nice. So spending time in nature, and I think that they appreciating the beauty of nature to refresh your soul. I think it's about, if you have a difficult time balancing you and you, spend some time by yourself in nature. And when I think of spending time in nature, of course, I think about meditating and going within and grounding. Get your feet in the dirt. And if you can't take your shoes off, then put your hands in the dirt. But ground your energies, because that's really important. It will help you to be balanced, to balance within you, and then to balance the energies that are around you. And the Knight of Swords, that's about taking the things that we think outside of ourselves and going forward with them. It's one of the faster moving energies in the deck, so it's definitely about going. It's about, you know, taking what you're learning and going forward. And then the 8 of Swords, it's kind of a card of by yourself, bound, blind, and barricaded. But swords are thoughts, so the 8 of Swords indicates that your thoughts possibly are what hold you back from being the High Priestess. And the High Priestess is the lawgiver of the heart, the master of Intuit. She knows spiritually what is best to do in every situation. And she's usually depicted as being pregnant with life, pregnant with opportunity, pregnant with thought, pregnant with that spiritual knowing. And so go forward with new thoughts. Don't let the thoughts behind you then come up and entrap you. Keep reaching forward towards your intuition and your heart space and towards this High Priestess. And this isn't easy work to do. None of this work ever is easy. But you can do it. What have we got here? Be true to who you are. Show us be true to who you are. So what do you have for us on that? Authenticity is actually the highest vibration that a person can hold within them, because when you are authentic, you actually align fully with the energy of the source that is in you, and your source vibrates through you, through the 99.99% of every atom in your body. And it's to allow the full flow of that energy to flow through you, you must be authentic, which means true to yourself and embodying your own truths, and not shying away from or trying. It's the end of people pleasing, 100%. You can love someone, and that's a vibration around 500. If you look at Stephen Hawking's vortex of it's a chart that shows it's a vortex on a chart that shows all of the human emotions, and love starts at 500, and authenticity is actually at 1,000, and is at the level of God. And that's a very peaceful energy, because it's about knowing yourself. And so the supporting this know who you are is the 10 of Cups, which is fulfillment and love. It's family, it's fulfilling, it's harmony within yourself, harmony with all of those around you, those people that are important to you. So the more you say yes to yourself, and the more you spend time learning about yourself, spending it in nature, spending it within your own nature, within yourself, within your own heart, within your own learning to work with the heart and balance it and the ego together, because you do need both. You need to be able to logically think through the things that are in your heart, and vice versa. Feel about the things and the thoughts that you have and the patterns that you're keeping that are coming in response to some pain that you have. So it's always about a balance. 3 of Pentacles, collaboration, higher learning, 6 of Cups, Knight of Cups. Oh, I love this. This is so great. What was that? Oh, Two of Cups at the bottom of the deck. Two of Cups. And this is, the Two of Cups for me is always relationships between two people and however they build into it. It's also the relationship between you and you. Because everything starts with the self, and all relationships start with you. The Three of Pentacles. The Three of Pentacles is about collaboration and higher learning. It's about going to someone who has more information or seeking information. It can be a book. It can be all kinds of things. A book, a podcast, a movie. You know, there's a lot to be learned from a good movie. They'll have patterns play out that you can see that are you. Six of Cups. And Six of Cups is about these precious connections, these soul bond connections that we have that are important to us. And it's about learning some of the patterns that you have with them, because these soul bond relationships, they are the ones that will trigger us the most. They are the ones that will cause us the most discomfort. Because from our perspective, our spiritual perspective, we didn't come to have feathered nests. We came to learn and to grow. And all growth and all healing is painful. You know, if you've had teenagers, especially boys, you know about growing pains. You know, the aches and pains of growing are real. And healing, if you've ever had a broken bone, healing hurts. And these Six of Cup relationships, the purpose for them in our life is to cause us to want to grow. And that's why they're special. That's why even when they hurt us, we want to go back. Because our souls, from that perspective, before we came, from the spiritual perspective, we knew that we would be special to each other. That when we met them, it would feel like we'd known them forever. And the reason for that is, and the reasons for that resonance, is so that you will put up with some pain long enough to learn the lessons. And staying together, if the relationship is really toxic, staying together isn't the point. Because spiritually, we're always together. There's never a time that you are not connected, quantum entangled. And I've done videos on quantum entanglement. You can look that up. But if you have a question, put in the comments and I'll try to address it. Because we are quantum entangled with every relationship that we have, even if you let them go physically for a time or forever, because if they don't want to evolve, you may have to, if the relationship is toxic, you may need to, and you should, and then heal. Because when we are no longer spiritual, when we are no longer physical, we will return and we will understand everything and we will reconnect with those people. And so while you may have relationships in your past that really, really triggered you, and you might even feel hate for that person now, when you transition, you won't, and you will understand. And I don't know if that will help you to know that you are spiritually connected to those soul bond relationships always. But it's not going to hurt you. And then we have the Knight of Cups. And this is about taking the love that is within you and the things that you're learning in love through this collaboration, through a little bit of understanding about possibly soul bond energies and how they are meant to cause us wounds, and how ones later are meant to trigger us into trying to heal the wounds. And triggering is nothing more than something bumping up against a previous wound that hasn't healed, and it causing enough pain for the reaction of the bump to be as if someone had punched you instead. When your reaction is larger than what the bump should have instigated within you, you will know that you're triggered. And you'll think about it for days, possibly years. And an interaction of some kind that really, really triggers you. And those are opportunities. Those triggerings are opportunities for you to look at the wounds that you have. And that's important. And it's important that you look at them, especially if you have children, because if you don't look at them, you allow them to go forward to your children. And I have and will do more videos on ancestral healing because that's really important. Okay, I thought we'd pull a card or two from this Path of Light Oracle, and maybe one from one of my favorites, the Healing Energy deck. I'm going to do a relationship one just because the relationship between your inner child and your ego will be perfectly reflected back to you in your interactions with other people. So it's about relationship. Spirit, do we want any from this deck? Maybe not. We'll see. Almost. I didn't commit. Service. Service and 10. 10 reduces to 1, and 1 is the number of self. Serve yourself. Service to yourself first. Serve healing to yourself. Focus on your healing. Focus on you. 1 is always the number of you. Okay. Unconditional love. My heart is free from resentment towards others. I open the eyes of my heart and discover the light and beauty in every being. I am aware that suffering can cause distress and hurt in people. I see the pure child in everyone and practice forgiveness. And this is what happens when you heal. This is a natural occurrence. And then you can't help it. You want to help other people. You want to help them to see the pain that is within them that could be healed. But you can't help others to heal. You can't help someone else to walk down a path that you yourself have not gone down. Partly because you don't know the map. And because you won't be able to resonate in the place that they need to go to. And the most beautiful thing that Jesus did was that he was able to hold the knowing, the vibrational knowing of someone's wellness, to the point that if they could summon the faith to reach to his knowing, they could be whole. And when you walk the path down healing and you become familiar with the nuances of it, then you can teach others. And the most that you will teach will be by example, because words don't teach. We offer a lot of them, but words don't actually teach. It's life experiences that teach, and it's the vibration held in those experiences that are able to draw people to them, to the vibrational resonance of the words, and to encourage them to go down that path. So as you heal, you will naturally begin to embody and attract those who need the work, those who need healing. And we'll see what, 1 or 2 of these. Engagement. Anything else, Greg? In this Love Oracle deck? A couple things. Okay. A few things. Okay. Engagement. Your love is soon ascending to a higher level of commitment. Make this commitment to yourself first. This engagement needs to be between you and you first. Okay. Reconciliation. Someone for your past will be returning to your life soon. And this could be specific for someone. Otherwise, for everyone, reconciling yourself and the past and healing those wounds. Third party situation. Other people may be interfering with this relationship and dimming its full potential. Don't allow other people to, in toxic relationships, the other person will make it difficult, of course, for you to reconcile between you and you. Okay, so take less consideration of other people in the relationship that you're having with yourself. And that's part of being able to step back and say, what would make me most happy in this situation? And what do I need to do going forward so that in this situation, so that I take into account my needs and what makes me happy? And then take back your power by giving someone control over how you feel. Your happiness should only depend on you, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. Make your happiness your responsibility and allow other people the responsibility of their happiness. You came to add to someone's happiness, not to be the only source of their happiness. And the same goes for you. Be responsible for your own happiness. If someone is hurting you, don't make it their sole responsibility, because you're matching somewhere in there. Take half of the responsibility of the toxicity on yourself and then do your inner work so that you don't take all the responsibility. Don't carry the whole burden if you're in a toxic relationship. Only take the responsibility of your part of the cycle that is continuing the pain. And whether that is codependency or to allowing bad behavior to continue, whatever your part is, take your part and get to work on it. Okay. If you feel called to a personal reading, spiritual counseling, you can email me for those. That's in the description box. If you have a question or a situation that you would just like a little bit of clarity on, something short, put in the comments, and as I have time and I can, and Spirit leads, I will do a segment on those. And I hope that you have a blessed day. Namaste.